yeah, obviously just gutted. The guys put in a huge amount of work to get this opportunity to come here and play in another World Cup final, and to pretty much do all you could and still not perhaps get across the line with some small margins. And I think throughout this whole campaign, in a lot of my press conferences, I've spoken about uncontrollables, and there was a couple today that were, pretty hard to swallow. But once again, take nothing away from England's campaign, not just this match, but throughout all the cricket that they've played. They're deserved winners. I think if either side walking away with the title today probably feels fortunate, having it sort of go down to obviously a tie after regular time, and then I think another one, wasn't it, after 6 more balls. So yeah, one of those things, eh?
When you put 241 on,
yep.
What was your target? You've been pretty good at predicting what pitch's score should be.
Yeah, we sort of wanted 250, 260. We knew that it wasn't easy, and we were expecting it to dry a little bit more, and it did do that. And I think we saw in the first sort of 10 overs the movement that we were able to get, and we were able to pick up those early wickets, and I think that was due to the pitch and the bowlers putting the ball in great areas, which they've done all tournament. It's very difficult to, I suppose, look at one or two areas when the margin is so small and you could look at anything. But yeah, I think the thing you walk away with is the amount of heart and the amount of fight that the guys have shown throughout this whole campaign, but probably none more than the match that we've just witnessed. And both sides showed that today, and it did come down to I don't know how they won it. What was it? Boundaries or something? But it was, someone had to walk away with the title, and we're gutted that it's not us. But England had a very good campaign, and they deserve the victory.
I know it's fresh, but a boundary countback, as you kind of just alluded to there, is that a fair way of deciding a World Cup final? What could you think of a better way, perhaps?
I suppose you never thought you'd have to ask that question, and I never thought I'd have to answer it. Look, while the emotions are raw, it is pretty hard to swallow when two teams have worked really, really hard to get to this moment in time, and when sort of 2 attempts to separate them with a winner and a loser still didn't perhaps sort of shine with one side coming through. It just is what it is, really. The rules are there at the start. No one probably thought that we'd have to sort of result to some of that stuff, but yeah, very tough to swallow. Obviously a great game of cricket, and I think all you guys probably enjoyed it, as to everyone else. I think they're still here, they want more, but we're looking forward to putting our feet up now and having a bit of a chat and a reflection about our campaign.
Kane, before the start of the match, did you guys actually plan for a super over strategy before the start of the match? Because you could have probably come out, Martin Guptill wasn't in the greatest of forms that in the tournament. So what was the strategy before the match? Did you guys actually plan for a super over?
But he's such a fast runner, and that's all he had to do, and he just was short by a little bit. So unfortunately it didn't happen. We didn't really do a lot of super over practice, but at the same time it's cricket, and guys do work on hitting the ball out of the park, and that's all that was required. And we tied that too, didn't we? So it was one of those days.
Kane, is it any consolation that people who watched this game will remember the Black Caps for 2 moments of outstanding sportsmanship? One when you signalled that Trent Boult had stood on the rope, so it wasn't a 6 when you were that close to dismissing Ben Stokes. Those things are remembered by spectators.
I suppose we've just finished the game, haven't we? So whether people talk about it in years to come, we'll have to find out. But it was a fantastic game to be a part of. It is quite hard to look at it at the whole match sort of in a rational way when we've just sort of been through what we've been through. But judging by the people that are still hanging around and the support that was there long after the match had finished. Clearly it was a great spectacle for everybody.
You mentioned the uncontrollables. Another one was when the ball hit Ben Stokes' bat. What were you thinking? I guess no hard feelings, or do you think maybe the rule could change? I don't know.
The rule has been there for a long time. I don't think anything like that's happened, has it? Where you now question it, but look, you can't sort of look at that and think that perhaps that decided the match. There were so many other bits and pieces to that game that were so important. When it comes down to a tie, you start looking at every single delivery, don't you? But it was a pretty tough pill to swallow, that when we were looking pretty likely with Trent bowling really, really well. So one of those things.
Kane, a final like this, which sort of thrilled us till the end, how does it raise the profile of the sport? It was followed so widely across the world and it kept getting more and more thrilling.
Yeah. Oh, you mean everybody loved it? English loved it more than we did, I think. But it was a brilliant game of cricket. Always a little bit better when you're on the right side of the result. But hopefully, as a side, and I think the English side would feel the same, that you do play this game to help grow the game, and hopefully the sport sort of grows in your country and people start enjoying or perhaps attracting new viewers, and that's always a really important part to what you do. And hopefully that achieves something like that today. But it's sort of pretty hard to consider those things right at this point in time when you're still reeling a little bit from some small margins. But naturally, a great game of cricket, and I think everybody watched. I think really appreciated it.
Just down the back.
Usually if you lose the World Cup final, there would be some sorrow and also disappointment and probably anger at something that you mistake you've done, like the 4 years back. In this scenario, what you could be sad about, what you could be angry about, you just, how do you react? What do you take away from this sort of an ending? Will you just be happy, apart from just laughing at it? What else can you do?
Laugh or cry, it's your choice, isn't it? There's not anger. There's a lot of disappointment, I suppose. The guys are really feeling it, and I think it's probably more down to some of the uncontrollables that go on, where they put in such a huge amount of effort. And we know in this game it can be fickle in its nature, and there are parts that, as hard as you try, sometimes those cards don't fall your way. And today it ebbed and flowed, but the guys stuck with it beautifully well, and they showed that heart and that fight that we've shown throughout this whole campaign to get us into winning positions, and we saw that again today. And I think we sort of, after perhaps 85-90% of that second innings, we had our noses in front, and no doubt a lot of thoughts are going, well, certainly through my mind, but obviously through all the other players as well, where could have been this, could have been that, but it is what it is.
Same number of runs in the innings and same number of runs in the overs. So do you say that it is the rule that beat you, or what do you conclude that way?
The rules are there, I guess, aren't they? And certainly something you don't consider going into the match, that maybe if we could hit an extra boundary and then tie 2 attempts at winning it, then we'll get across the line, and they didn't think that either. I don't even know what the boundary count was, but obviously we were slightly behind. Very, very tough to... there you go.
Let's go just over the right.
Kane, I know we're harping back to different moments, but the first ball of England's innings, obviously you get Jason Roy on the pads, and do you understand, looking at that review, how it wasn't overturned and given out, firstly, and secondly, do you think that makes a difference? Obviously, if you knock over a wicket first ball, probably does.
I think once again, it's similar stuff when you come down to a tie at the end of 50 overs each. You have small margins like that. You have other sort of human decisions that can go one way or another, and that is just part and parcel of the sport. Guys moved on from that, and a number of other parts in that match that would have been nice if they snuck our way, but you do get moments go your way as well at different stages, and you do move on, and you don't let it distract you. And I think that's probably the more positive part to that scenario in particular, and a number of other parts to it as well, where obviously we speak about the last few overs, but the guys moved on from that, applied themselves well in the 6-ball game, but yeah, obviously not quite enough.
Last few, David.
Kane, I'm sure most New Zealanders are just going to bed now after being up all night. How much have you been aware of the impact that the team have had back home, and what sort of legacy do you sort of hope that this World Cup run will have for cricket in New Zealand?
Yeah, I have heard that a lot of people are enjoying it. I haven't had a huge amount of contact or from back home, and I suppose being in another country and every game's very much felt like an away match. Obviously, being a slightly smaller country than a few others, but it's great, isn't it, when sport can have an impact on a country, and I think the way you play it, and obviously getting into different stages of a tournament, and it attracts a little bit of attention, and we can only hope that the people back home enjoyed what we were able to achieve, and hopefully the way that we played the game, and I just hope that there was that enjoyment, and perhaps a few kids might start playing a little bit of cricket and all these sorts of things. So we'll have to wait and see when we head back, and hopefully there's a bit of interest there.
Last couple.
Kane, it was obviously a day that was hard to take, but it was a day that you also named player of the tournament from both a batting and a captaincy perspective. How much pride can you take of that, and how pleased are you with your own individual performances on both facets throughout the tournament?
An individual performance is only a contribution to something greater than yourself, and that's the team. And so the idea is that you're helping your team get across the line, and the only thing that you can perhaps think of at this point in time is what more I could have done, or you make next year, and when the margin is so small. And I think all the guys within our side should take a lot of pride in what they've been able to achieve throughout this whole campaign, and individual accolades are very much secondary to the efforts that everybody within the whole squad, support staff as well, we're all putting into the bucket, and I think that was huge in us getting the opportunity to being here in a final and playing some really, really competitive cricket in this final as well. So that is always the focus.
Kane, hi. You've used a few different phrases, the uncontrollables and thin margins.
Dogs as well.
Sorry?
Dogs, I've used dogs.
Stop by this particular one.
Yeah.
Would you agree that one way of looking at it is just down to luck, that you're not sitting there as a World Cup winning captain today, especially with what happened with Guptill's throw, hit Stokes' bat, went off for,
I guess
is it just luck that you're not?
I guess it's uncontrollables, I suppose, mean that you can't control them, can you? So it's up to someone else, I don't know. I guess there's a little bit of that at times, isn't there, in the game that we play, where there are so many variables, whether it's the surface, the opposition, any sort of condition that can have an influence. But that's why the game's so great as well, I think, is that it can be on any given day, anything can happen. There's not much constant about it, and we saw that in this match and a lot of other matches as well.
Oh, just last one over here.
Kane, I asked this question standing because my respect for you, the way you have conducted, you have won an individual award also. But do you think the cricketers, the competition, you're happy, or everybody should be like gentlemen like you?
Everybody, they're allowed to be themselves. I think that's a good thing about the world, and everybody should be a little bit different as well. And very difficult question to answer. That's probably my best answer, is just be yourself and try and enjoy what you do.
Thanks very much, guys. Cheers.